Ivanka Trump arrived prepared to defend her family's image. Jasmine Crockett arrived prepared to present facts. Ivanka spoke first, opening with a personal remark. Jasmine didn't raise her voice. She simply hinted that she, too, carried a file. One containing information Ivanka would prefer to keep out of public view. The debate hall was already full of tension before either woman began speaking. Bright stage lights reflected sharply off the podiums. A hush spread across the audience as cameras locked into place, waiting for the first exchange. This wasn't an ordinary political debate. Everyone could feel it. The atmosphere carried a heavier tone, a sense of risk. Two prominent figures, Ivanka Trump and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, stood ready to confront one another. At first, the conversation seemed controlled. The questions were predictable, and the answers sounded practiced. Ivanka maintained her usual composed expression. Head raised, voice even. She projected a polished confidence, the kind of image that suggested she was beyond challenge. Jasmine leaned forward with a focused stare, responding firmly but with controlled language. The tension was present but manageable. Then it shifted. Without warning, Ivanka's demeanor changed. Her eyes tightened, her voice cooled, and her polite smile faded. When she spoke again, her words were no longer about policy, governance, or leadership. They were aimed directly at Jasmine. She looked her opponent straight in the eye and said in a sharp tone, "You're nothing more than a bitter outsider. You don't fit into the world we built." The audience reacted instantly. Gasps echoed across the hall, spreading in a wave of surprise. The comment wasn't strategic or thoughtful. It was blunt, dismissive, and clearly intended to belittle. Ivanka hadn't just disagreed with Jasmine. She had suggested Jasmine didn't even deserve to be on that stage. For a brief moment, everything went still. The host looked toward the cameras with concern. Some audience members whispered, while others stared in shock. Everyone understood what had happened. Ivanka had crossed the line from policy disagreement into personal insult. And it hit hard. Jasmine's expression shifted only slightly. She didn't respond with anger. She didn't offer an insult in return. She remained still, hands clasped, eyes fixed on Ivanka. But beneath her calm, something was changing. The audience sensed it. Her quietness didn't reflect defeat. It was the calm of someone who knew she held information more powerful than a counterattack. The cameras captured everything. Ivanka's confident posture, Jasmine's steady focus, and the growing murmurs in the crowd. The tension was nearly visible. In that moment the momentum of the debate changed. Ivanka believed she had delivered a decisive blow, that she had undermined Jasmine. But instead, she had opened the door for Jasmine to speak on matters Ivanka preferred to avoid. The air grew thicker. The host leaned forward in anticipation and urged Jasmine to respond. Viewers wondered whether she would return the insult, remain silent, or take the conversation somewhere unexpected. Jasmine allowed the smallest hint of a smile, neither friendly nor mocking but knowing. She finally spoke, her tone calm but pointed. "Ivanka, you can call me anything you like, but you know there's something you would rather not hear discussed." The room fell quiet again. Ivanka's eyes shifted for just a moment, revealing a crack in her controlled exterior. It was small, but noticeable. Enough for the audience to realize Jasmine wasn't making empty claims. The debate no longer felt like a simple exchange of policy views. It now resembled the start of a confrontation centered on issues deeper than politics, tied to matters the Trump family had long avoided publicly. Ivanka had tried to diminish Jasmine, but it had become clear that Jasmine held information capable of altering the direction of the discussion, and challenging Ivanka's carefully shaped public image. Everyone felt the shift. Jasmine was prepared to say more. Ivanka sensed the threat. And the audience waited for what would come next. The initial spark had been lit, but the real impact had not yet unfolded. Ivanka sat confidently after delivering her insult, satisfied with her remark. But Jasmine Crockett didn't react emotionally. She didn't escalate the exchange. Instead, she remained calm, calmer than before. It wasn't the calm of retreat. It was the calm of someone preparing to speak with precision. The entire hall sensed it. The host leaned in, voice slightly strained, pushing against the silence. "Congresswoman Crockett, would you like to respond?" Jasmine didn't answer right away. She allowed the silence to continue. The audience could hear the faint movement of papers, the shifting of chairs, even a cough from someone in the back row. The pause, long and deliberate, carried more impact than an instant reply. Finally, she raised her chin and responded. Not in anger, not defensively, but in a measured tone that sounded almost familiar, as if addressing something already known. Ivanka can call me what she wants. That doesn't change the truth she avoids. The room reacted sharply. The host straightened in his seat. Ivanka's eyes flickered again. The word avoids carried weight. Listeners wondered what Ivanka was trying not to face. What truth was Jasmine referring to? No one had answers yet, and Jasmine did not offer them immediately. Ivanka, usually composed, shifted slightly. Her jaw tightened. Her grip on the podium became firmer. The camera caught every detail. Viewers could see that the balance of control was changing. The host tried again, leaning further forward. Congresswoman Crockett, you're suggesting something significant. What are you referring to? Jasmine allowed the same faint smile to return. Not taunting, just assured. She turned her attention back to Ivanka and replied steadily. There are matters this family would prefer remain private. Issues that have been hidden, refined, and protected. But I know, and she knows, exactly what I'm referring to. The crowd responded with immediate whispers. Some gasped, others murmured, and many leaned in, waiting for what might be revealed next. Ivanka's face flushed slightly. She attempted to maintain her posture, but the tension was clear. Every camera angle captured her reaction, her narrowed eyes, her tightened jaw, and her silence that spoke louder than any denial. And Jasmine wasn't finished. She leaned a little closer to her microphone, her voice lower now, forcing everyone to listen. Secrets don't stay buried forever. The truth always finds a way out. Even if it takes years. Even if it takes science to confirm it. The word science hit like a spark. Viewers straightened. The host paused. And Ivanka's calm expression shifted just enough for a hint of fear to show. Jasmine didn't say it directly. Not yet. But the meaning was clear. She wasn't referring to rumors or speculation. She meant something that could be tested, verified, undeniable. Then she delivered the line that would echo across the debate stage. The truth is in the DNA. The room reacted instantly, as if lightning had struck. You could hear shock move through the audience. Shuffling, murmurs, hands covering mouths. The host nearly fumbled his pen. Ivanka froze. For the first time that night, she looked trapped. Not insulted, not politically attacked. Cornered by something she could not control. DNA. 3 letters carrying the weight of evidence, the weight of proof. No argument could erase it. No media spin could undo it. If Jasmine truly had information linked to Barron Trump, the discussion was no longer political. It was about lineage, identity, and a family secret the world had never heard. The tension was overwhelming. The host leaned toward Jasmine, almost whispering. Are you saying you have proof? Are you saying you know something none of us know? Jasmine didn't hurry. She leaned back, steady, her eyes fixed on Ivanka. And instead of a direct answer, she gave a response that chilled the entire room. Let's just say I've seen enough to know the Trump story isn't what it appears. And when the truth comes out, people will understand why she fears me. Silence spread across the hall. The cameras tightened on Ivanka's face. Her lips pressed together, her jaw rigid, her hands lightly shaking at the podium. At that moment, it no longer felt like a debate. It felt like a countdown to whatever Jasmine was about to reveal. The atmosphere grew heavier. Ivanka's earlier insult had backfired. Jasmine's steady composure unsettled everyone. And those 3 letters, DNA, hung over the room like a storm waiting to break. Audience members leaned forward. Even the cameras seemed to inch closer, as if the world was holding its breath. Trying to regain control, the host cleared his throat. Congresswoman Crockett, are you saying you have DNA evidence connected to the Trump family? It was the question everyone had thought but hadn't dared to say. Jasmine didn't move. She let the words settle, then answered with a tone that was calm, firm, and confident. I'm saying the truth is written in science. And it's not the version the Trump family has shared with the public. A chill moved through the room. Ivanka's head snapped toward Jasmine, her face flushed, not just with anger but with fear. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words didn't come. She was shaken. Jasmine leaned closer to her microphone, controlled and steady. The report I have does not come from rumors. It does not come from speculation. It comes from samples, real verifiable samples. Gasps rippled across the hall. Samples? What kind of samples? The audience desperately wanted to know. Jasmine continued. A hairbrush. A glass. Everyday items. Quietly collected, carefully tested, and compared. Not once. Not twice. Multiple times. The results are clear. They cannot be dismissed. The host leaned back in disbelief. The crowd erupted into whispers. Then Jasmine delivered the first major blow. Barron Trump's story is not what America believes. His ties are not distant. They are not partial. They are not step. They are direct. The hall burst with noise, gasping, clapping, disbelief. The word direct hung over the room like a bolt of electricity. Ivanka's face drained of color. She shook her head, whispering, No, that's not true. But her trembling hands told another story. The audience saw it, the cracks in her composure. Jasmine's voice sharpened. She looked straight at Ivanka. The results show something the public was never told. Ivanka's connection to Barron is not the connection the family has presented. It is not simply an older-sister relationship. The markers show something closer, something that changes everything. The room gasped again, louder this time. People shifted in shock. The implication was unmistakable. Jasmine didn't say the forbidden words, but she didn't need to. The data spoke for itself. Then she addressed Donald directly. As for the president, his link is confirmed. But even there, the data contains unusual markers, patterns that suggest the public story is incomplete. That parts of the truth have been hidden. The host dropped his pen. The audience buzzed with disbelief. This was no longer about Ivanka alone. This was about the president. Ivanka slammed her hand on the podium. Lies! She shouted, her voice breaking. This is disgusting. You're sick for saying this. But her reaction only made things worse. The audience had already seen her fear, her unrest, her desperation. And Jasmine knew it. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't look rattled. She spoke with calm certainty. You can shout all you want, Ivanka. But you cannot shout away the truth. The report is real. The science is real. And deep down you know it. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. The cameras zoomed in on Ivanka. Her face was flushed, her jaw tense, her eyes filled not only with anger but with fear. For once, she had no polished reply, no practiced line. She was cornered. And Jasmine wasn't finished. She delivered her final point. The American people deserve honesty. They deserve to know who influences their leaders and who operates behind the scenes. And when the truth is tied to family, no one, not even the Trumps, can hide it forever. The room shifted instantly. Gasps, raised voices, stunned silence. Everything collided at once. And in the middle of it, Ivanka Trump sat frozen, exposed by a revelation she could no longer suppress. The studio remained unsettled, the echo of Jasmine's words still hanging in the air. The impact of what she revealed was already spreading through everyone's thoughts. This was no longer about private family matters. This was about power, politics, and the public image of one of America's most scrutinized families. For years, the Trump brand had been protected by wealth, influence, and strict control. Every detail, every photo, every statement was managed carefully. Barron Trump, especially, had been kept away from public scrutiny, shielded and treated as unreachable. And now, with one disclosure, that shield had cracked. The stakes had never been higher because in the White House sat Donald Trump, the President of the United States in 2025. And at that moment, the nation had to ask itself, what happens when the family of a sitting president carries secrets this significant? The audience remained silent, focused on every word. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others whispered, trying to piece together the implications. But Jasmine's message was unmistakable. This wasn't gossip. It was a matter of leadership and truth. She leaned in, her voice quieter but sharper than before. The Trump family built its reputation on strength, unity, and tradition. But the DNA report I hold shows a different version. A version they hid, not only to protect Barron but to protect their own power. The host attempted to intervene, but Jasmine lifted her hand slightly, holding the room. If the truth about Barron's parentage had come out earlier, imagine the questions. Imagine the scrutiny. The family knew it could threaten their influence and their political future. So they buried it completely. Gasps traveled through the audience. It wasn't only the revelation, but the motive behind the concealment that now cast a heavy shadow. All attention shifted back to Ivanka. Her lips were pressed tight. Her breathing was fast. She wanted to respond, to push back, but her silence was louder than any denial. Every second of quiet felt like confirmation of the truth Jasmine exposed. Jasmine continued. This isn't only about who Barron is biologically connected to. It's about integrity. When a family holds enough power to influence government decisions, guide economies, and affect millions of lives, the public deserves facts, not filtered stories or controlled narratives. The truth. The words landed with unmistakable force. The audience felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't a minor controversy. It was about trust and whether the nation's most powerful family had misled the country for years. Then Jasmine said something that made the room fall completely silent. The report confirms that Barron's story is not the one America was given. And the Trump family's silence tonight shows how afraid they are of this truth becoming undeniable. Ivanka slammed her hand on the desk again, her voice shaking. This is absurd. My family does not owe anyone explanations about personal matters. But her words only intensified the moment. The audience saw exactly what Jasmine wanted them to notice. A woman cornered, frustrated, and scared. The political implications were clear. Donald Trump was the sitting president. Ivanka was not only his daughter but one of his closest advisors and a symbol of the Trump brand. If Jasmine's claims were true, the fallout wouldn't just damage reputations. It could destabilize the core of their influence. Whispers spread through the crowd. What else have they hidden? What else haven't they told us? For Ivanka, this was more than embarrassment. It was the risk of her entire image collapsing. And for Donald Trump, it represented a threat beyond his control. The truth revealed through DNA. The studio had turned into a clash between private secrets and public responsibility. It felt less like an interview and more like a courtroom where facts were being tested. Ivanka Trump sat stiffly, her jaw clenched, her voice shaking with anger. The poised daughter of a president was no longer in control. What remained was someone visibly pressured, her defenses slipping in front of millions. The host tried again. Uneasy. Ivanka, would you like to formally address these claims? Ivanka snapped, her voice cutting through the room. Claims? These are not claims, they are lies. Cruel, hateful lies meant to smear me and my family. My family is private, and this disgusting nonsense has no place here. She struck the table again. The microphones caught every sound, but the more she pushed back, the clearer her panic became. Her voice trembled. Her eyes flickered between anger and worry. And the more upset she became, the more obvious it was. Jasmine had touched something real. Jasmine, however, remained steady. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't show emotion. She simply leaned forward and said, almost softly, "The truth doesn't need protection from me. It stands on its own, and it's already out there." The words struck the room instantly. The audience reacted, some leaning forward, others whispering. Ivanka froze briefly, her expression tightening, her breathing heavy. That pause, those few seconds of silence, said more than any argument she had made. Then Ivanka erupted once more. "You are cruel, Jasmine. You are dragging my family, my child, into your attacks. You don't care about facts. You only want chaos." Her voice broke. The word family did not sound strong. It sounded strained. It was the moment where the audience saw it clearly. The cameras caught every second. Ivanka Trump, long known for composure, was unraveling live. The host tried to cut through the tension, stumbling over his words. We need to end this for now. This is clearly sensitive." But by then, it no longer mattered. The damage had already taken hold. The world had now seen two things. Jasmine Crockett presenting a revelation that could shake the foundation of one of America's most powerful families. And Ivanka Trump breaking under the weight of it, her anger raising more questions than answers. The cameras faded on an unforgettable image. Jasmine calm and steady, and Ivanka overwhelmed with anger and fear. And viewers everywhere were left with one question. If this DNA report is accurate, what happens next? This was not just another debate. It was a moment that exposed cracks in the Trump family's carefully maintained image on live television. Jasmine Crockett pulled the curtain back, and Ivanka's reaction only deepened the uncertainty. Now the question goes to you. What do you believe this revelation truly means? Could this DNA disclosure change everything for the Trump family and the presidency? Share your thoughts below. This moment is unlike any before it, and your perspective matters, because one thing is certain. This story is far from finished.